Good morning and greetings from South Africa. My name is James Campbell and I'm Acting Chair of Common Purpose of South Africa. I've just recently returned from an absolutely splendid Governance Day which was held in London on the 3rd of February to map out the way for common purpose in the future and to actually strengthen our governance community. And on behalf of our Global Chair Dr. Robert Kerr and our CEO Julia Middleton, I was asked to summarise the events or the key issues of that day. And one can do that in many different ways, but following the great example of Bishop Tim, who was at our day, I decided to summarise it into 7 key points. And these key points will now hopefully be shared with the global common purpose community. The first key point was that of Europe. We very clearly have strategies for India and Africa, and in fact our strategy for India is beginning to bear fruit, and our next wave of growth will probably come out of Africa. However, from presentations given by our colleagues from Germany, Hungary and Turkey, there is clearly a large gap in terms of how common purpose can fill a very glaring need and base in Europe itself. So number 1 is Europe. Number 2 is talking right to the heart of the governance issue itself. How do we fix things when they are damaged? And according to Richard, one of the members of the global common purpose community, we've got to have selective amnesia on some of our problems. And very importantly, we actually have to learn to trust each other. And the getting together of the global chairs and the CEOs was a very important step in that basis. And that trust has to go beyond just the 3 or 4 yearly meeting, but over telephone, over email and over greater collaboration. However, we must be careful not to actually draw policies on everything so we become a bureaucratic and static organisation. We must retain our innovation, we must retain our flexibility, and we must work on what McKinsey called many years ago, that loose, tight fit, which common purpose has so well done in the past. The third area, which is becoming more and more important, and that is measuring the impact or the evidence of what we actually do. Many corporates are actually asking for this. It is a particularly complicated area, and I know here in South Africa that we have done independent work to actually measure it, but it's a long way we still have to go in terms of being able to quantify and measure the impact of our programs. Point number 4 is on sharing. And there are 2 very specific issues which I'd like to talk about on the issue of sharing. Many of you would have heard about the very, very exciting work we're doing on the online community, particularly around MOIC, and how it's going to be used as a platform for future growth amongst our alumni, African leaders and many others. This also must be done amongst the global governance community, that is the global chairs, the boards and the CEOs, so we can help develop strategy, build contacts and actually further entrench the strong governance we have amongst ourselves. What was also very clearly evident in the day and a bit we actually spent in London was a greater degree of collaboration required in the global customised piece. Many organisations are global, and many of our CEOs and board members have strong contacts in their areas which could help other areas. And there was a strong call here for the global customised piece to become more global and share better. Number 5, many of you who would have read the strategy piece will be aware of the concept of magnetic cities and how, but the question we addressed during the day in London was how do we retain the strategy of magnetic cities and common purpose's role within the magnetic city without prejudicing rural development and without working against what our individual countries have in terms of development of the hinterlands itself. So although the magnetic city concept was strongly supported, we have to nuance it in terms of the particular issues and strategies of the countries which we work. Number 6, and that is of technology and alumni. Clearly, we'll all be well aware of the growth of things like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Common Purpose's role within those three social media platforms. But technology can be used to great effect, particularly in our very large alumni community around the world. And this is almost central and core to our growth strategy going forward. And it's even more central to what we call the BHAG, or Big Hairy Audacious Goal, of becoming the largest student development organisation in the world. And finally, point number 7, and I'll recap each point before I actually close, and that is we must state our vision more clearly. And in fact, the slides which we addressed on the 3rd of February, and in much of the documentation which was shared with the boards before the event itself, the vision was not out there and was not crystal clear. To add to that, we must be proud of who we are, and we must all talk the common purpose language and fly the flag and be ambassadors for the company itself. We witnessed some statistics that British cities have moved sideways over the past 20 years in terms of many social development criteria. Clearly there's lots of work to be done in Britain from a common purpose perspective, and here we can really promote leadership, not just at the CEO level or general manager level, but at every level in an organisation, whether it be a private sector, public sector or NGO sector. So in summary, ladies and gentlemen, the 7 key points which came out of our wonderful governance meeting of the 3rd of February were: first, Europe, a clear strategy. 2, how do we fix things when they are damaged? Trust. 4, sharing, and in particular around MOIC and the global customised piece. Number 5, magnetic cities, and how do we utilise this but not prejudice rural development. Number 6, the core issue of technology, and in particular how that's associated with the alumni. And finally, number 7, state our vision very clearly and be ambassadors for common purpose. So thank you very much for your time, ladies and gentlemen, and God bless you all.